Yeah, I mean, good to be 3-0. I thought we had some real step up from some guys tonight. Obviously, two of our more consistent performers, Sebastian, just continues to, affect winning. Keyshawn Hall just continues to get better every single game. Was great to see him kind of extend his range tonight, make 3 threes and 4 offensive rebounds, 11 total and 6 assists, right? Would like to cut down his turnovers, but I thought, some of his turnovers came in transition when 2 and 3 just didn't get down to the corners, and we were just way too congested in there, and too many times in transition they were really good at stripping and ripping the ball on penetration, but also in transition. I thought 9 turnovers in the first half was really sloppy, and I think a lot of those came from poor execution on our behalf. So got to clean that up. Kevin Overton was great to see KO kind of go back into the form that we knew that he was capable of when he was at Texas Tech. So really happy for KO. We're going to need him to obviously beat the best teams on our schedule. I thought defensively he showed what he showed all year last year at Texas Tech. He guarded number 11 Holmes. For that guy to go 4 for 11, only 10 points when he had 24 the other night. Obviously, it was really important for us to, and he made 2 threes after going 0 for 7 in his first 2 games. So for him to only have 2 2-point baskets, was a testament to our guys. I thought Caden Magwood played well off the bench. Got some good minutes out of Mech. So some positives. I thought we had some pretty good step up. I thought defensively in the first half, we did a better job of communicating our switching. Thought we did a better job of building a wall. I thought too many times though on penetration we just continuously were staring at the ball and would leave shooters wide open. I think 16 of their 25 shots or 16 of their 31 shots in the first half were from 3. So I didn't think we did a very good job of paying attention to the scouting report as far as when the ball gets penetrated by a non-2-point making guard, you got to branch out to your man. And too many times we're staring at the ball, and Elijah and Tahad just got back cut continuously in the first half. Got after Elijah pretty good, and I thought he did a much better job in the second half of really locking into his man and not staring at the ball and not getting out of his stance. So thought Elijah did a great job making that adjustment. But yeah, I thought overall, there was definitely some positives. I thought in the second half, the last 12 minutes, we didn't really defend the way we're capable of defending. Part of that is the score, but we got to do a good job of fighting that type of stuff. Great teams are going to play hard for 40 minutes, and I thought we played really hard for about 30. So got to put a complete game together for us to be able to beat the best teams on our schedule, and obviously we got a really good one on Sunday. So take some questions.
Sure. I know we've talked about how much smaller these teams are you guys have played against, but y'all have rebounded really, really well to start the season. Just knowing you all got some bigger teams coming up like Houston this weekend, is it good just to get in the habit of just cleaning up on the glass like y'all are, even though it's going to be different very soon?
Yeah, I mean, it's all we've talked about, all offseason was one of our glaring weaknesses, and it got exposed in the Oklahoma State game, and that's the kind of size that we're going to be going against. So it's good to see improvement in that area, but, obviously, you got to buckle your chin straps because, Houston is a whole different animal. Houston is the best offensive rebounding team in the country every single year. They play with a different level of physicality, a different level of energy, and a different just level of intensity that our guys, have not been able to experience yet. And, Keyshawn Hall and Tahad and KO are the only ones that can really speak to it because they all played against them last year. So hopefully that experience really wakes our guys up, because if we don't hit a body every single time a shot goes up, they're going to go get every single offensive rebound and they're going to play volleyball with it. And, that they're going to get a bunch of me bounds. And we got to do a good job, on Sunday of limiting them to one shot as best we can. But they're going to get offensive rebounds. So when they do, we got to make sure that we get a body on a body and don't let it happen again. So, yeah, I mean, it's great to see us out rebounding teams that we're supposed to by the margins that we have. But also we got to understand that, this is going to be a whole different animal on Sunday.
Hope.
Steve, yeah, speaking about defense, the moment in the second half where you looks like they hit 2 buckets, you call a timeout. Was that just like a coaching moment right there where you're trying to get on a little bit?
Yeah, you could call it that. Yeah, I mean, we got to find a way to, regardless of the situation, regardless of the circumstance, the standard is the standard, and we have to be able to perform to that. And if we don't, I've told them all along, I'm going to continuously coach effort and energy. That's all I'm going to, like, I'm not going to get mad at you for taking a bad shot. I'm not going to get mad at you for, missing a communication on defense. It's going to happen. But if you don't dive on the floor for loose balls, if you don't run out and contest an open shooter, if you don't run guys off the line, if somebody's beaten, you don't rotate over, get vertical at the rim. If you don't do the little things that are required to win, that I'm going to get after your ass. And that they understand that. And I thought they did a really good job when I brought them in. I got after them pretty good. They all were looking at me in the eye, and they all, nodded their heads, and they were ready to go. So it's just, those are teaching moments that I think are obviously really important in these situations. And, they got to understand that I don't care what the score. We could be down 30. I'm still going to coach that hard. And, obviously we were up 30. I'm going to coach that hard. So, they understand that that's just kind of who I am. And, it's just something that they got to learn from. And obviously something that we got to continue to build on.
You mentioned KO's defense. You guys have had, in your time as the defensive coordinator, some guards that you can just kind of deploy on the perimeter. Do you feel like he can be that kind of guy this season, and what are his characteristics that make him successful?
Yeah, I watch him on film, and he just reminded me so much defensively of like Miles and Denver and those types of guys. Like that was the prototype, and he hadn't really shown that until today. And for me, I got to do a better job of getting that out of him every single game. And so today it was obviously great to see him revert back to what he was. I think he just stopped thinking so much. He just went out there and performed. Obviously helps when you make a couple shots, but before he had 2 points in the first half, and I think he was plus 18. That's what winners do, right? KO's won everywhere he's been. So, and then obviously it was great to see him get 11 in the second half, but he was guarding when his offense he didn't have to score to defend. And that's what we expect out of KO. But we also know that he's capable offensively of doing some great things. But for him to be able to, keep his man in front, like that type of stuff's contagious, right? If you see one guy keeping his man in front, like that's going to make you motivated to do the same. So that's what we expect out of KO. Obviously, happy to see him have some success there because he's got to build on it. Because, he and I talked last night. I was like, if we have any chance of being the best teams on our schedule, we need the best version of you. And, I think he took that to heart. He heard it, and he locked in tonight. So it was really good to see.
You were talking about Key. He had 11 points in about a minute and a half there. Just his ability to kind of turn it on. KO was saying in there, it's like all you got to do is keep him level-headed because he can go whenever. So how big is that for y'all, just having a guy that can kind of turn it on like that and score in bunches?
Yeah, he has, obviously great spurt ability. Is that a word?
Yep.
Somebody Google it. But yeah, he's the first Auburn player to start the season with 3 20-point games since KT back in 2014. So obviously his ability to, he's just he can score on all 3 levels, and there's not a lot of guys in college basketball that can do that at the consistency that he's done it. So, I thought in the first game defensively he wasn't very good, but obviously offensively he's just continued to show how versatile he is and how multi-dimensional he is. And I thought he did a good job obviously of getting on the glass, and he had a couple of really man rebounds on the offensive side of the ball. So plus 32 and the plus minus as well, led us in the plus minus again. So he's just continuing to get better. He's done a great job of leading by example, and he's done a good job of using his voice in practice, and that's something that's really important for me as a coach. He echoes everything I say. And that's the type of leadership that we need on this team to be successful. But obviously, we're playing a great team on Sunday, and we're going to go through some real adversity on Sunday. I need him to do those same things when Houston punches us in the mouth, because they're going to. That's what great teams do. How are we going to respond to that? I need him to be consistent in those moments as well, and I'm confident that he will.
Steve, you mentioned Elijah making that defensive adjustment in the second half. How did you feel about his offense, especially driving, getting to the rim throughout the game?
Yeah, he did a really good job, I thought, of just being under control on his penetration. Sometimes Elijah's so fast that he gets ahead of himself and he gets a little out of control. I thought tonight he played with great tempo and great pace and great strength. And when I say great strength, they do a really good job on penetration of sending bodies and hands and raking at the ball. And Elijah did a really good job of playing physically with the ball and at his own pace so that he didn't turn the ball over. And then when they did come in, he got really strong with the ball and would get it out. He had 3 assists, no turnovers, and he was in the paint most of the night. So for him to be able to do that was great to see. He went 6 for 8 from 2. Did a good job of getting to the foul line. He drew 4 fouls, which was second on the team behind Key. So it was great to see him offensively, do what he's capable of doing. Obviously, it's going to be against a different level on Sunday, but thought he had a lot of really positives tonight that we can build on.
You've talked about not being worried about Todd with shooting. Just third on the team in plus minus after another colder night shooting for him. How impressed are you that he just is continuing to do all the other things really well, even though I know he's got to be frustrated that shots aren't falling?
Yeah, the offense doesn't bother me at all. Like 4 for 17, I don't care about that. Like I know that his shots are going to fall. What I do care about is the attention to detail and the effort on the defensive end. Like he has got to continue to be locked in on that side of the ball, especially when his offense isn't going. And I have very high expectations and I have very high standards for Tahad being our only returner. So, he did a good job of facilitating the ball with 5 assists. Had 4 turnovers, obviously, good plus minus, but he's got to be better on the defensive end. He's got to dive on the floor for loose balls. He's got to, and when he is locked in, like he's such a great defender, but he has these moments and these lulls where he stands up and he gets back cut too many times, or he gives up an offensive rebound. And, I just know that I know what he's capable of because I've seen it on film so many times. And I watched the Houston game, and, that dude was in a stance for 40 minutes, at Houston. And that's why we won the game. It wasn't his offense. He was guarding. He was being physical. He was checking dudes out. He was doing diving on the floor. Those are the little things that I need Tahad to do. And I think when his defense picks up, that's when his offense will get going. I thought the first 5 minutes of the second half, I thought the reason why he made a couple shots is because he sat down and guarded defensively. And I thought that really helped him in his momentum, to obviously get the confidence to make a few. So I think he's just got to continue to do that. I have no worries that he's going to get back on track offensively. But until he does, the non-negotiables are the defensive end, and I need him to be great on that side until he starts knocking shots down. Because when he does, we got a chance. But we need him. I mean, we need him. For us to have a chance to have success this year, we need Tahad, to do the things we know he's capable of.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.